your host, your boy, George Mackay, back in studio again today, and I got a good one. I got a man who loves himself as much as most wrestling fans should love him. If you don't know who I'm talking about, let me run down a couple of his accolades. He was the 2019 ROH Top Prospect winner. He was the man who now has become personified, known as the Mile High Magnum. Please help me welcome Dak Draper to Straight Talk Wrestling.
You hear people clapping for me?
I do. I hear it. And everyone at home is clapping. I know they are. I know they are.
Like I feel like I can hear it off in the distance right now.
That actually kind of brings my first question. So again, thank you for taking the time today and welcome to Straight Talk Wrestling. But my first question is you're a man who, in a lot of your promos, you talk about you love the crowd, you love the energy, you love hearing people cheer for you.
Yes.
In the state of wrestling that we're in right now with COVID, it's very hard to get that reaction. So how are you coping with not having crowds when you're performing?
Well, I feel like I have to take a less is more approach where instead of listening to a lot of quiet voices from a lot of fans, like where you listen to just more fans, I listen a lot more to my biggest fan, which is me.
Of course.
So I set my own standards now. So I set my own goals, and I watch my matches back. And if I'm happy with it, then it was a good match. If I'm not happy, I don't care what the internet says. I don't care what all these people are saying. As long as I'm getting attention, as long as they're talking about the Mile High Magnum, as long as they're tweeting or they're writing on their websites about Dak Draper, I don't care what they say. I just want the attention.
That's true. That's true. Actually, in a promo that I watched that you shot for ROH, you mentioned from a very early age you loved being the center of attention, much like your father. You said your dad was always the center of attention. Everywhere he went, people just gravitated towards him. And I guess that's something that you brought with you into pro wrestling, correct?
Absolutely. And like sometimes it rubs people the wrong way when now we can't do it because of COVID. There's very strict procedures. But before, I'd be back in the locker room telling stories, holding court. And that rubs people the wrong way sometimes. But that's the guy that I am. I love when all eyes are on me, when everybody's laughing, everybody's having a good time, either a good time or they're just being emotional, whether they're happy or they're mad. I want that to be because of me. And I think that first happened for me when I was like 4 years old in Little League Baseball. Like I stroked a ball off the tee and everybody went nuts. And I didn't even care about scoring points. It was just felt really good for everybody to be like, hey, Dak Draper, that's a strong little 4-year-old.
Absolutely.
He's a 6-year-old. I was like, hell yeah. I like that. I'm going to chase that feeling for the rest of my life.
So it was that adrenaline shot from the first get-go, that first crack of the bat. You knew that you didn't care what you were doing. As long as people were cheering your name, that is all that mattered.
Exactly. They could be cheering my name. They could be booing my name. As long as they're saying my name, I'm happy.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm a big ROH fan. I love the product. I love the promotion. It's a promotion that doesn't get enough credit for all the things that they do. And they do a lot of things so well. I've had a lot of your fellow roster mates on the show. One most recently was Shane Taylor. I dropped his episode a few weeks ago. He is actually the former champion of the title that you are chasing right now, the TV championship. And the cool thing about this is that Final Battle is a week out. When this episode drops, it'll be 1 week away. It drops December 19th. I believe it is, right? Yes, December 19th. 18th. Thank you. 18th. So December 18th, Final Battle's happening, and you've got a potential chance to be in 2 matches that night. The first one is a fatal 4-way with you, Tony Deppen, LSG, and Josh Woods. This is a fatal 4-way for the #1 contendership for the TV title. Now, whoever wins that match, and I mean, I'm putting all my chips in on you, so don't you let me down, okay?
You're smart.
I know I am. If I was a betting man and this was in Vegas, I'd be dropping serious coin on you, and I would expect a lot in return, okay? I'm letting you know that. But if you win that match later on in Final Battle, later on down the card, you have a chance to go one-on-one with the current champion, Dragon Lee. Now, a lot of people who don't know the Top Prospect tournament and how it works, the winner of that tournament gets a shot at the TV title. And you had a shot with Dragon Lee when you won the Top Prospect tournament last year. The match did not go your way.
Yeah, we were on the verge of a global pandemic, and it was our last show that had fans, and I almost hit him with my finisher, the Magnum KO. And I think it's really, really interesting that he has yet to set foot in America until Final Battle. since I almost hit him with the Magnum KO. Like he's dodging something. You know, he won't even step in the same country as me.
And it has nothing to do with the pandemic at all, though, right?
Well, you can find an excuse anywhere, really. Like people will do gymnastics to tell themselves anything, and if that's what he wants to tell himself that he's being safe because of the pandemic, that's fine. But I almost got Dragon Lee, and I just keep getting better and better. So this would be a great chance for me to get that attention that I love. If I could start this that would be a historic type rise where if I could beat 3 other guys at my first final battle and then go on to face Dragon Lee and win the Ring of Honor World Television Championship, like they should probably make a movie about that.
I would buy it.
Like,
I would pay for it.
That's what I've got motivating me. Like there's no greater attention that you can get than like a movie style like redemption story. The last time I wrestled Dragon Lee, I unfortunately faced my first Ring of Honor loss. And so I feel like this would be such a great redemption story. I could see the Disney Channel picking it up. Like who knows? But that's what's motivating me.
Well, I think it is great motivation. But what intrigues me the most about this is the fact that, I mean, that match is going to be early on in the card. I want to say probably second or third match of the card. And as we get later in the card, Dragon Lee is going to be coming up for whoever wins. And again, my money's on you. But now the interesting concept here is what happens if ROH throws a curveball at you? As soon as the Fatal 4-Way is over, what happens if Dragon Lee's music hits and you got to go back to back? There's no time for rest. How would that work for your game plan going into Final Battle?
Well, I guess I would just be warm and fired up from having a match, and Dragon Lee would have to come out there cold and wrestle a guy that's already all fired up and escalated. And man, that would really suck for Dragon Lee, I think, because you know I'd be going. You know, when I win a match, I'm at my most dangerous. That's when my emotions are at an all-time high. I think trying to throw a curveball like that to me would just play right into my game.
That would be back to when you were 4 years old, cracking that ball off the tee. It's going for the fences, 100%.
If it's on a tee, if it's a curveball getting thrown at me by a pitcher, if it's a curveball getting thrown at me by a wrestling company, I'm going to hit it as far as I can, and people are going to look like just like they did when I was 4 and say, wow, that Dak Draper, he sure is impressive. He sure is strong for a 4-year-old. He just pinned Dragon Lee.
So a lot of people may not know your history. I myself pride myself on doing my research, and I have been a fan of you for some time. So when this was presented to me, and a shout out to Mark, the publicity guy for ROH, he's awesome. I don't want to pronounce his last name wrong because I feel like I will, so I'm not going to do that. But everybody knows who Mark is. If you don't know, Google him. He's a fantastic human being.
Mark.
Yes, absolutely. But so your history kind of goes like this. I mean, high school and college, you were a football star. You're also a wrestling star. You were a collegiate wrestler. I believe you were All-American, if I'm not mistaken.
I actually lost the match that would have made me an All-American by 1 point in the last 10 seconds. And I don't know if you can tell, that really sticks with me a little bit.
I think it does. It's that little chip that's right there on your shoulder. But I feel as you get more comfortable in the ring and you do more in the ring and you rack up more wins, that chip gets a little bit smaller. Okay, so I wasn't All-American, but look at what I've done since then.
Like to see how I just sliced through the top prospect tournament. Like I don't really think I got tested in the tournament. Yeah, the chip did get smaller.
Well, I feel like you didn't get tested either. You literally did mow through the competition. Every win was convincing. There was no, he almost lost that. It was a literal decimation of every opponent that you faced. And anybody who didn't see the tournament, go back. You can watch it on Honor Club. If you don't have Honor Club, it's very affordable. Go check it out. It's all on there. But also, YouTube is a wonderful tool. It does show highlights of each and every match. So you can definitely find that all on the ROH page on YouTube, which I recommend everyone to go and subscribe. I already do subscribe, so that's no harm, no foul. There you go. There you go. So, and the great thing about your history is that during your last collegiate wrestling match, you were offered a WWE tryout. Like literally, the match finished. You probably didn't even get a chance to see your coach.
Walked off the mat into Jerry.
Yeah, there you go. Right. So
it was wild.
I've never heard that before, but that shows the potential that you had. Now, the WWE tryout, you did also mention in that same promo where you talked about your dad so respectfully and lovingly. You did also mention that when you were there for the 2 years that you were there, you didn't feel like you were performing your best that you could have been.
Yeah, absolutely. I felt like I wasn't wrestling for me. I felt like I was trying to please coaches. I felt like wasn't wrestling. I wasn't learning to become a good wrestler. I was learning to become a good wrestling student where I got really good at the drills and I was in great shape and my fundamentals were great, but I just didn't know how to use all those skills where I didn't know how to show my personality. I didn't know how to show off as well. And I just needed to breathe and to be on my own. I needed to make my own money where I didn't just have that salary, that big company salary coming in, where I had to do well in my bookings in order to get more bookings. I really had to bet on myself. And man, when the pressure was on, that was the best time for me because I set my own standards a lot like now when we don't have fans, where I set my own standards. And before if I didn't like what I saw, but the coaches liked it, that's what I listened to. Okay, they're right. Now, if I don't like what I see, I'm changing it because I'm in charge of my own destiny, and it's free.
Absolutely. And the 2 years went by rather quick, and you cut your teeth on the indies. And like you said, you honed your craft, you watched back tape, you studied yourself, and you said, okay, this works for me. This doesn't work for me. This fits into my repertoire. This doesn't work for who I am. So, in somebody who a lot of people they cut their teeth in the indies and then they get the mainstream contract. You, on the other hand, you were that again special candidate because you had the big time contract first and then you cut your teeth in the indies. If you had an option to go back to that day where the tryout was offered to you, would you second guess your original decision and maybe not take it and say, I want to cut my teeth indie first and prepare myself for what my eventual goal is, which is to get signed to a major organization?
So I would say that I would still take the contract because something I pride myself on is I have quietly made more money in professional wrestling than people can imagine because I've always gone after the money. And I've always gone after the money when it works for me. And at that point, I wasn't going to make money wrestling. I wasn't going to make money when I'm just learning how to hit the ropes, just learning how to take bumps. Like I had money in the bank from wrestling before I ever set foot in a wrestling ring. And that's something that I can pride myself on. And I wouldn't trade that for, even if my career would somehow have gone better up to this point. I don't think I would trade it because I was just literally before we got on here, I was texting some of the guys that I was in Tampa with, and it was like those memories where it's like we were in over our heads, these amateur wrestlers, amateur collegiate wrestlers who don't know anything about pro wrestling etiquette. I was a pro wrestling fan, but I didn't know anything about etiquette. I didn't know about shaking everybody's hands and stuff like that. And so we were just so young and dumb. And I think there was something kind of beautiful about that, how we were so in over our heads. And also the fundamentals that I learned. It was like the fundamentals and the hard work. It's like getting thrown into a boot camp where you're all of a sudden you're expected to be able to blend in and to do well with like when you're in there. Like I was in Tampa with the Shield, and my first match there was I tagged with Trent versus the Wyatt family. Like it was like you get thrown in with the Sharks, and there's something about that. I don't think I would have the chip on my shoulder nearly as strong if I hadn't gone through that.
I would have to say I agree. I think that shaped you into who you are now, and who you are now is a dangerous dude. And I say that with the utmost respect. I really do feel that you have a legitimate shot to open a lot of people's eyes. My eyes are already open. I was all in. I actually watched that promo with my wife before I came down, and I love the arrogance. I love the cockiness. I love the confidence. And actually, I want to scratch arrogance. I want to apologize for that. It's not arrogance.
It's not arrogance if you back it up.
Yeah, there exactly. And that was my point because you are more confident than you are arrogant. And what I feel you do in the ring is something fresh. You're a young cat, you got a great career ahead of you. But I want to pose this question. I'm a big guy, a big fan of what ifs. What if this had played out differently than this? So I already asked you about the NXT question. But what if Dragon Lee had not beaten Shane Taylor and you had a potential chance to go up against the baddest of all time, the CEO of Shane Taylor Promotions, probably next to you, the best promo guy right now in ROH? How would that game plan differ from Dragon Lee? Because you've already faced Dragon Lee, you tasted Dragon Lee, you know what that's about. But Shane Taylor is a beast of a different kind.
So I was so confident that I would be facing Shane, who actually was defeated for the title at last year's final battle by Dragon Lee.
Great match, by the way. Great fucking match.
Yep, absolutely it was. I was when I faced Dragon Lee, I was way heavier than I am now. At the time when Shane lost that title, I probably weighed about 260 pounds when my wrestling weight is closer to 245 because I was gaining weight to be able to match Shane's weight. Like I knew I wasn't going to get up there all the way, but I wanted to close that gap. And so I was even upping my weight because I wanted to be able to close the gap, the size difference with Shane, the power difference distance, or to close that power distance with Shane, because Shane's who I was preparing for. I was completely surprised by Dragon Lee. I had 2 months to prepare, but I won the top prospect tournament in September. I've been preparing for Shane since September. I've been preparing for Shane since I got asked to be in the top prospect tournament.
Of course.
And so Shane's who my eyes were on. I'm confident with anybody that I go in there with. I'm not going to divulge what my game plan was for Shane, but when Shane and I do face each other eventually, because I plan on being around Ring of Honor for a long time, and I know he does too, my game plan's going to pay off.
I love it. I'm already so intrigued that I want to say, can I pre-order that pay-per-view now for when it ever happens? Like,
pre-order interviews.
Yeah, can I pre-order like 2 years from now, 1 year? Can I do something like that? I gotta get a hold of somebody at ROH and say, listen, just book me in for all of these.
Those guys, it's so interesting because he's a big guy, but he's got those hands where he can end the match, and he's not going to just wear you down with his size. A lot of big guys, their main strength is being big, and that's not Shane. Shane can end the match like a lightning strike, and so I almost look at it like when I was in amateur wrestling growing up, like a guy who could throw a headlock, where it's like you can score 14 points on a guy if he can grab you by the head and take you over and pin you in the last 10 seconds. Like those 14 points you spent the previous 6 minutes and 50 seconds scoring, they don't matter anymore. And Shane's that kind of guy. Like say Shane gets hurt on the way to the ring and somebody whips his ass the whole match. If in that last second he lightning strikes and he knocks him out, doesn't matter. He's still getting his hand raised. So I've got some ideas for Shane.
Perfect. Well, I look forward to whenever that match happens, because anybody that's watching this, when you said that you've got a game plan for Shane, my eyes twinkled. Christmas is around the corner. You kind of just gave me a little something. So I want to say that I'm definitely intrigued for when that match happens. But that's going to be hard for me, Dak, because I respect Shane and I respect you. It's going to be hard for me because either way, a part of me loses, but a part of me wins in that match.
Let's look at the winning part and just know the winning side is usually the Draper side.
That's true. That's true. So I've got to ask this, because I've never actually had an ability to ask this, because I've never actually had somebody preparing for a fatal four-way. A fatal four-way is a special kind of match. It's almost, I put it up there as almost like a ladder match, because it even though there's no weapons involved, it can one split decision that doesn't go in your favor. You have three wolves ready to pounce on you. And the three men you're going to be in the ring with, LSG, I love his speed. Josh Woods, his power is underwhelming. And Tony Devon, you give him some room, and man, can he fly. So there's a lot of things that each of them has, but I feel like, and I'm not kissing your ass, I don't kiss anybody's ass on my show, but I feel like you have all that in the package. I feel like you are the dark horse in this match, not in a underwhelming kind of way, but in an overwhelming kind of way, because depending on which of those guys messes up and has that split decision go the wrong way, you will be the first to pounce and react because you've already thought 7 moves ahead.
I look at it as in a four-way, you got to keep your head on a swivel. And I believe that so much that in the last month, I've been doing rehab on my neck so that my neck is more flexible. I've been doing neck yoga so that I can literally keep my head on more of a swivel, because if I can see this many degrees further, I can see Tony Deppen flying out of nowhere. I can turn around that much faster to see what LSG is coming off the ropes with. I think it's all about being prepared, but it's all about naturally having that fighter's instinct. And I think that's something that I possess and Josh Woods possesses too from our collegiate backgrounds. Josh is a national champion, but he was never in Dak Draper's weight. So
That's true. That's true. He was not in the same weight class.
Also, when I missed out on being an All-American, I never think I've lost an amateur wrestling match to someone that I couldn't beat if I could throw a right hand.
That's a thought. That's a fair point too. You're filled with all kinds of philosophical wisdom. You're like the Gandhi of pro wrestling.
Oh, I'd say yeah, like maybe like Gandhi mixed with maybe a little bit of like ooh I don't want to say Lady Gaga, but she's very artistic and she is tall like me. Yeah, let's just go with Gandhi, the Gandhi of Ring of Honor. I consider myself the most presidential looking member of the roster.
You could have political aspirations in your future, much like AEW's Cody Rhodes. I could see that. You could run for a senator. It could
Yeah,
happen.
was elected class president of my senior class and then was impeached because I made all kinds of wild promises, and they even said, like, the administration was like, yeah, none of this is going to happen, and everyone still voted for me, and I was elected and was promptly impeached about a week later. And yeah, it was, politics might not be for me. I accomplished all I needed to in the political arena. I hung up my tie for the day and hung
Yeah.
up the posters for good in the garage.
Yeah, anytime impeachment goes hand in hand with a president, well, we're not going to go there. We'll leave politics off the table. But another aspect of the fatal four way that's interesting for me is there's always short-term alliances. There's always someone that you're willing to work with for a little bit to get yourself ahead. Now, not to give anything away because I don't want to do any of that. But is there one person that you could see yourself aligning in that match for a short term, for a long-term gain for yourself?
So I feel like making alliances in matches like that is more like a slimy little guy move. So I'm going to be looking out for LSG and Deppen to do that. I don't expect it much from Woods. Woods doesn't seem like he plays well with others unless there's Silas Young yelling at him. But I think I'm not looking to make any kind of alliances because how bad am I going to feel if I have to go home and sit in quarantine because I trusted Josh Woods or I trusted LSG or I trusted Tony Deppen to have my back. So no, I will say it here. You will not see me making a single alliance. And if anybody suggests that to me, I'm kicking their ass right out of the ring off the island.
Right. I could see that middle of the ring, two guys down on the floor, and then the guy walks in and goes, "Hey, listen, Draper, you, us together." And you go, "Yeah, yeah, yeah."
Survivor? Come on.
Survivor is an underrated TV show. It's a classic. It really is.
This quarantine, I've been watching a lot of trash reality TV, a lot of like Love Island stuff, and it's given me a good lesson on interpersonal communications.
You know what? It's funny you mentioned trash reality TV because Shane Taylor and we were discussing that as well. And I told him that my wife's the love of my life, the mother of my two beautiful daughters. She makes me watch a lot of Jersey Shore.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And we also watch Kitchen Nightmares, Little Hell's Kitchen. And that got Shane interested because Shane was like, I'm all about Cutthroat Kitchen. And I was like, oh my God, did we just become best friends? Cutthroat Kitchen is hands down the best trash TV show on the fucking planet.
Really? Cutthroat Kitchen?
Cutthroat Kitchen. If you have not checked it out, check out Cutthroat Kitchen. It's literally one of the most tweaked out, fucked up shows that there is because nobody is safe on that show. Hence the title, Cutthroat Kitchen.
Oh, that's great. Yes, yeah. I will check that out. Thank you for the recommendation.
No, don't thank me. Thank the baddest of all time, Shane Taylor.
Maybe I will. Maybe I won't.
Yeah, that's all right. All right. I'll take the credit then. I'll take the credit. So I'm interested in this next question because this is something that I kind of feel like you would pose the best answer for it. If you beat Dragon Lee on, Final Battle, and you start 2021 as the TV champion. Now, Dragon Lee, his reign was longer than Shane's, but there's an asterisk there, or there should be because of the pandemic. Not able to defend it every month or every couple of weeks, so it's hard to really consider this a fair reign, considering how many times Shane had to defend it over Dragon Lee.
I would definitely look at defenses over time, yeah.
Exactly, as do I as well. So I feel that Dragon Lee's reign is not as long or impressive as people would like to think, because it'll be a year, but really it's a year with 3 titles.
impressive reign because he did defend it against Dak Draper. So that does make it wildly more impressive.
It does, but it also was Dak Draper who wasn't prepared for Dragon Lee. Your game plan was for Shane Taylor, so you had to do that match on the fly. And it's actually interesting that you stated that, because now I want to go back and rewatch that match, and I want to see exactly what you're talking about, because you were preparing for 300 plus pounds, not 190, not a luchador. You were preparing for a ground and pound type of fight, not a high flyer, not a rope guy.
First move around. Yep.
Exactly. So you could see that. Now, my favorite part of that match with Dragon Lee, though, was when at the beginning you were kind of petted him and you were like, look, see the height difference here. I love in pro wrestling, I think it's an underrated skill, is the psychology in the ring. Everyone talks about it. Everyone mentions it, who the great psychological wrestlers of our time are. You've got Ric Flair. You've got Arn Anderson for sure up there. You've got a guy like Sting. You've got a guy like Triple H, is one of the best of all time, the cerebral assassin. These guys are all great psychology wrestlers. But I feel like your psychology in that match was not mentioned and not given kudos enough, because when you start, people will look at it as an insult, but it's not an insult. It's just saying, listen, you're little, I'm bigger. The natural order of things. Yeah, the natural order of things is that on paper, I already have you in the win. I have you in a loss column. I have you.
And I learned that. I learned just those little pre-match things that you can do to kind of throw people off their game. When I was a freshman in high school, I wrestled this kid. He was a senior. He was ranked #1 in the state. And when you shake hands before a match, you reach out like this. I reach my hand out. He puts his up like that.
Oh, fuck.
With the high five. What the fuck? I'm 14 years old. Oh my God. This guy is 18. He looks like a grown man. He's got stubble. I'm like this, looking like an idiot. He's like that. So of course I go to high five him. He goes for the handshake. He pinned me in 20 seconds. That's the quickest I've ever gotten pinned in an amateur wrestling match. And that has stuck with me because I feel like he crossed my wires in my brain so much, but I learned from it and I use it now. So when I did that to Dragon Lee, maybe it didn't have an effect on him, but maybe when he's running in for something, he's thinking about, oh man, well, I'm small and Dak's big. Like maybe this won't hurt him as bad, you know? If you can just throw a little bit of doubt in somebody's mind, it's gonna usually grow some. Those seeds of doubt will grow good crops for you.
And when you go into a match like this is in your career thus far. This is the pinnacle right now. This is a chance to reclaim. Yeah, absolutely. It's a chance to reclaim what you had a chance to claim a year ago, but it didn't go successfully well.
I really enjoyed being the #1 contender for the Ring of Honor television title, and I would like to get back to that, and then the same night go beyond that.
Exactly. And do you feel like dad and mom will be there with you the whole time, even though they're not there? Will they be there with you? You know what I mean?
You know, my dad will be. So my dad passed away in 2016, and he was a huge supporter of me. He loved when I was in NXT, but I feel like he was even more proud of me when I wasn't in NXT, when it was this labor of love, when I was struggling, when I didn't have that financial backing anymore of a big wrestling contract to fall back on. And he could see how much better I was getting. And I really feel like before my career ticked back up, he passed away. So he watched me struggle. He saw me get to the bottom. And before I got back up to the top, he passed away. But I feel like in a way, he would choose that because he was there for me when I needed it most. And I feel like he's literally always with me when I wrestle. Like before I go out, I always think about him. I can see it from here. I've got a necklace with his ashes in it. I feel my dad so much when I wrestled. When I was a kid, he used to always tell me, be tough and Draper's win. And that's always stuck with me. Be tough. Because I do something. If I'd complain about something, I'd say, oh, in a match, oh, the ref screwed me. Be tough. It's like, have thick skin. Find a way around it. You know, find a way to make it happen. And so yeah, he's always with me. Like if I'm in a submission and I'm thinking about tapping out, I guarantee I will hear "be tough" in my head, and that's going to give me that extra juice. So my dad is always with me.
Yeah, I can see it.
a wonderful feisty lady, and I should throw that in there in case she sees this and gets all.
Well, I'm sure Mama Draper is going to be cheering on her baby boy for sure.
Oh, Mama Draper, I've got a video on my YouTube channel where she was driving a golf cart, had me running laps like three. She is an ass kicker.
I could see that. I could see that. I could see if you're ready to submit. I could see, you hear your dad saying be tough, but all of a sudden you look up, and when you're looking for the ropes, you see your mom. Don't you do it. Don't you do it. If you better clench that fist. If you slap, I swear to God, to God.
She's 5'4", and she might as well be 6'10", because she is an ass kicker. She's seasoned from all the times that she had to go down to the school and do battle with the principal over some shit that I got in trouble for growing up. So she's battled.
Sounds like your mom and my mom were, kindred spirits. I was in the principal's office every other fucking day.
They could probably write a book on calls they get at work about stupid shit their sons did.
Yep, 100%, dude. Yes. Another great point as to why you are fantastic. Two more questions, that I'm going to let you go enjoy your evening. But okay. looking beyond this and beyond Final Battle, because again, I'm a big fan of the what ifs. If you had the opportunity to, say, pick your first title defense out the gate, I'm not sure if you want to get the rematch with Dragon Lee right out of the way, but if you do, great. But if literally ROH management came up to you and said, Dak, you know what? Who do you want to step in the ring with? Who do you want to put a show on for the fans to retain that first title defense? Who's in your mind as your potential opponent?
As my potential opponent? I'd say Mark Haskins. We haven't seen Mark Haskins since the pandemic started.
Yeah, it's been a while.
I think the way that he grapples, the way that he gets into stuff, he's a little edgy. I feel like he's one of those guys where he's going to beat you up and you're going to beat him up. You're going to come out of that match with more scars than when you came in. And I feel like there's something fun about that. When I watch him wrestle, I can see like his energy and his passion. And Haskins.
I love it.
So, Slex would be a close second.
Oh, either one for me. Either one is a dynamite. That's a 10. That's a 10-star match. And I coined the 10-star before fucking Dave Metzler. And I will put that stamp on the ground.
You did your diligence.
Yes, I did. I coined the 10-star before he ever did. That's right.
I think for me and Slex, it would be like just for the poster alone. Oh my God.
Yeah. And you couldn't do a small size poster. You'd have to do the full wall.
We're talking like drops, like I'm talking on Baltimore City Hall, they could drop those long posters like in Ghostbusters when they drop like the big tapestry of the bad guy.
Yes, Drago. Drago. Yeah.
So it's funny, I own one of those. Well, I did for a company that is now defunct. And so I took it when the company became defunct. I took the giant poster with me of me and I hung it up in my sister's garage. So she didn't even expect it. I came to visit her. She lives in Fort Collins, Colorado. And I left and she texted me because she went to go to work. And there's just, an 8-foot tall me in her garage. And it's 8 feet of me from right below where my trunks end to the top of my head. So it's how I would look at, 12 feet tall. It's good.
And she loved it, eh?
That's how a true brother shows that he loves his sister, by giving her a giant picture of himself.
Yeah, absolutely. And does she still have it in her garage to this day?
It's still there.
That's great.
She can't get it out of there. Where's she gonna put it?
That's right. Even if she were to cut it in sections and throw it out every couple of weeks in the garbage.
Oh my God, then she wouldn't have a brother anymore.
She wouldn't know. Okay, make sure she doesn't watch this interview because I don't want to be blamed for giving her the idea.
I think she wrestling enough.
All right, perfect. And
I was the center of attention our whole lives, and so he had to play second fiddle. And so, yeah, that's imagine growing up with me as your sibling. It's not fun.
No, but now I'd have something to brag about. I'd be like, hey, listen, you guys want to go to ROH? Oh, you can't. You want to go front row seats? Oh, you can't. But I can. I got an insider. That's what I would do. I would 100%.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I don't know if that's quite up her alley.
Well, then if you ever want to slide those tickets my way, when ROH ever comes back to Toronto, I'm your boy, man. I'll take those tickets in a heartbeat.
I think we can work something out.
Perfect. And my final question, because I feel like you would actually give the strongest answer on this before I let you go. And also, before I let you go, I want to officially let you know now you are a member of the Straight Talk family. You have my Zoom, I have yours. Anytime you want to come back, it would be an absolute honor to have you back on the show.
Love it. Thanks. Proud to be a member.
Thank you. Thank you. And my final question is the fact that your career, you went from the big contract to cutting your teeth on the indies. If there's a young fan out there watching this, boy or girl, doesn't matter, and they just love the business so much like you and I, what would be the personified advice from the Mile High Magnum to that fan? If they want to come to you and they wanted to 5 minutes with you and say, Dak, I want to get into this business, what would be your advice to that fan?
Constantly push yourself out of your comfort zone. I've lived in 6 cities in the last 8 years, and I think that has helped me to improve so much because I've never been comfortable. When I was in my tail end of my time in Florida in NXT, I was comfortable there and I needed a change. So I moved. So I went to Colorado. I got comfortable in Colorado. I went to Kansas City. I kept moving. So once I became known in one area, I went to a new area where nobody knew me. When I moved to Maryland, no one knew me. And so I had to win over the fans. I had to prove myself. I had to, even getting bookings was a struggle. And I feel like putting yourself through that over and over just makes you bulletproof. And also, you don't get points just for showing up. Like, you have to show up and you have to perform. You have to hit it out of the park. You see so many guys that talk about like, oh, well, I moved here for this opportunity. And then that's it. It's like, yeah, okay, cool. You live close. Awesome. That's great. But you have to keep going. You have to stay hungry. And the third thing is always be coachable. I think one of my biggest strengths is that I've remained coachable. Like, I didn't just move to Baltimore and then decide like, oh yeah, I want to find my indie bookings. I found a place to keep myself sharp. I started going to the Ring of Honor dojo to keep myself sharp, even though I thought I was past being in a dojo system. I thought my skills were above being in a dojo system. And it made me so much better as a wrestler, because for being a guy that's arrogant, that's confident, I can humble myself when I know that it's going to help me later. And I think that has really turned around and helped me so much, because then you're ever evolving. Because people talk about my story, about how I've moved so much, how I've faced adversity, how I'll have opportunities, and then like something will happen and they'll disappear, and they're like, "Oh, this is a good story." But at like this level, everybody has a story like that. And so I think the big thing is like, there's more to it than showing up. Push yourself out of your comfort zone. Move a lot.
Fantastic advice. I couldn't think of a better way to end this interview. Dak Draper, you go prepare. Again, ladies and gentlemen, we are 1 week away when this interview drops. 1 week away from seeing Dak Draper possibly 2 matches at Final Battle 2020. Check it out on Ring of Honor. Check it out on pay-per-view. Check it out. Support this great brand. ROH is a brand that has been steady and consistent, and I feel like doesn't get enough credit that it deserves. So from all of my Straight Talk faithful to you, sir, good luck on Saturday.
Thank you. Get used to seeing a whole lot of Dak Draper.
I'm already there, man. Can you for one time only, you got to do this for me. This will be a Straight Talk exclusive. You got to say the Mile High Magnum. You got to do it for me just one time.
Oh, you want me to say about how I'm the 2019 Ring of Honor top prospect, the Denver Don 1, the Colorado Casanova, the Mile High Magnum, Dak Draper.
Absolutely love it. And that's how we do. This is another one in the can. Guys, thank you so much. Oh, wait, before we go, if anybody's stupid enough not to be following you, where can they find you on the wonderful world of social media?
So all my social media is at Mile High Magnum, all one word. And by all of my social media, I mean Twitter and Instagram. I might have a Facebook fan page that I've abandoned at some point. Don't go find me on Facebook. Instagram and Twitter are both at Mile High Magnum, all one word. Also, my YouTube channel is Mile High Magnum, all one word. And you can see tons of videos of me. I used to have a show called the Magnum Minute.
Yeah, I love that. I love that show.
Like 90 episodes. Or maybe not 90, but I have a lot of episodes of just, a lot of it was when I lived in Kansas City, of me doing crazy things around Kansas City. So I recommend it. I need to make the Magnum Minute movie someday. We'll see.
Absolutely. And I went to film school, so I could direct it for you for pretty affordable. Pretty affordable. Okay.
That could be big for me, for both of us.
For both of us, that's right. And because I'm a glutton for self-promotion, you can find me on the wonderful world of social media at _Straight Talk on Twitter, at Straight Talk Wrestling on Instagram. And I do have a Facebook page, and it is active. It's also Straight Talk Wrestling. So, well, Mr. Draper, you go finish preparing, you go get ready, and just remember that your boy, your host, will be screaming his head off for you come Saturday.
Love it. Thanks for the support. Thanks for having me on. I'm going to go put on another layer of tanner.
All right, take care. Peace.
Thank you for listening. Tune in next week for another episode on Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and iHeartRadio. Also follow us on Facebook at Straight Talk Wrestling, on Instagram at Straight Talk Wrestling, and on Twitter at _Straight Talk. And for all our merchandise, you can search us on ProWrestlingTees.com.